Okay, so near third time was the charm. And then it put an air in front of what was normal. But then when I reloaded it, it's fine. I don't know where the neck pillow and the blue pillow that were literally here. Just a moment. I'm just adjusting myself here. I'm using a laptop. Two people here instantly. That's been happening a lot lately within the first minute. Welcome. Anyway, because I mean they were just here. But anyway, the pillows. But anyway, I just wanted to do a video. Don't know how long it's going to be. I'm trying to conserve my energy for potentially a couple calls today. Just making sure. Okay, there's the phone. But I'm not sure if one's going to be today, and you both have at the same time. And I'm not sure when the other one is exactly going to be. But it's so weird. Like I say, I had both of those like in the previous video, which was actually not too long ago, and now I don't know where they're at. So it's very strange. But anyway, and they're not on the floor. Very strange. But anywho, um, there's a couple of ways that I could have jumped into this video. I never know exactly, how I'm going to start, but there's a couple ways I could have jumped into this video. And even though this may seem a little less boring, it may seem also a little less awkward for a couple of reasons. But I wanted to. It's interesting. I found out that my friend passed. The sun's coming out a little bit, but still kind of blue. Skies are potentially rainy. Early February. I can't believe it's already almost been 4 months because we're practically mid-May. That's crazy. Anywho, and a couple nights ago we were actually at the same place, and there was some similarities that I was at actually the day before I found out. And it's not a place I go super often. I'd love to say that the open mic idea was something but it's not organized very well. It runs late on a weeknight, so I'm just noticing stuff on the table here, but whatever. And it can get pretty hectic. Not that guards couldn't, but I don't know. I've been at a few events there. We're not big about the restaurant that's there, but anywho, I slept pretty well. I did just do a short video. I had an issue with our AC I had to deal with earlier. It's kind of muggy. It was kind of cloudy. That kitchen light was brighter than I thought it was. Sometimes I have a other light on, or don't have a light on. But from here it's not bad. And I apologize. Skip ahead if you need to. Nobody's watching right now, but I haven't been rolling that long. But it I feel like I need to even the AM stations. So I don't feel like the AC is necessarily what I would consider much to be background noise. And I think that I'm still hearable over top of background noise. It's better when it's talk radio, and sometimes it's more like the AM, but we get less stations. We also have 2 FM stations. Like he just suddenly the other day says it looks like there's a hole on the top of the radio. I said that's the AM FM dial, and there's an FM ST. I don't know what that is, um, but I know that YouTube won't like music playing in the background. That's one of these days maybe I'll try and put together. I don't know, have my own music playing in the background. That might distract me, and I don't know if I have enough of it, and either remembered or recorded. I don't know. Anyway, but it would be an idea. Sometimes I think, oh, play me doing music in the background when I'm on the phone. But just sometimes I'm kind of almost doing it anyway. So like I'll get a phone call when it happens to be rolling, and I'll just keep it rolling. But sometimes I'm wandering with the phone, whatever. Anywho, It's a small world and it's a big world. And I don't know what I feel about, and I don't know if I'm going to ever see that post again. I know I saw 6 reactions to it, and then it's in a group, and I don't know if I'd come across it again. And I think there was one comment I was, yeah, I don't know. I should look though. I should. And there's another group I'm in. Um, but, and I feel like hopefully this is just something very random. I don't follow this page actually. You can see at the top that it shows a follow option. Um, let's just scroll down. We do have somebody that just tuned in. You might like the image that my phone, the news feed is showing me. I don't know what you'd think of it. We have two people. One of you might. Both of you might. I don't know if I should show it. If I do, it'd be quick because the hashtags are a little iffy. But I don't follow this page. There's a follow option. But I guess I'm just going to do something very quickly in my head to my angels. And not necessarily guardian angels like my loved ones, which are kind of my guardian angels, and we all have them. I would say we more likely all have loved ones that are angels watching over us than we have um, guardian angels. I guess my belief system isn't as strong with guardian angels, but if it works for you, great. Um, but I'm trying to remember. I think it was last night, or was it early this morning? I sensed my one friend who passed away. Uh, um, and you know, first of all, she can't control me if I'm gonna do it in a video or not. But I think she would be okay either way. It's unfortunate I can't find more videos of her, especially with public settings, because of her singing. Like she should have a lot of them, but she actually probably got more videos of her friends singing than I don't know. Anywho, I don't know. You know, in some ways, maybe it shows that people were really living in the moment. And okay, well, we were both there for at least a couple of minutes, and then one left a little bit before the other. But anyway, um, you know, living in the moment, that they were just so enjoying, you know, the music nights in person. I mean, it's not to say that people didn't record, but maybe they just didn't upload, or maybe it's a setting thing that I'm not, you know, not finding it, you know, uh, but uh, but because I mean, these days, I mean, people do record things on their phone. I mean, and I should always have that with me just in case of emergency, if nothing for nothing else. But I'm just gonna quickly flash this just because. Hold on to it. And people see it later. They see it. If they don't, they don't. Um, there was right. I don't know why it says one new because I'm not seeing anything new in there. Um, but yeah. Well, as long as I load that up, I guess I can look at it later. Part of me is kind of curious and slightly feeling spirit led, perhaps, by my angels. But that says not updated 3 weeks ago, so I don't know. As we get here, welcome. So I'm not entirely sure what direction to do this in, but I'll share what inspired it. Let's do that. And the viewer left. They're like, I don't really care what inspired it, but they were there for a few seconds. Like they were kind of curious. You know, I understand that this topic isn't for everybody, but you know what? It's something that we can all relate to. We've all, and if we haven't, we will. You know, we've all lost loved ones. Watch, and you know, come in who from India, my friend from India. We've all lost loved ones, or at least acquaintances, and sometimes those can be hard too. Actually, sometimes, you know, and we can always find somebody legitimate. I'd recommend myself, not to not to boast, but you know, gotta think of yourself first sometimes. That can help kind of bring them back a little bit. But you know what? Really, in various ways, they show that they are still on, and it's just, do you notice it? still around rather. But um, and it's interesting having this ability actually. How, and again, please don't be jealous because I'm human. I still grieve. It still hurts. And in some cases, some of my loved ones that have passed away, I actually feel like I'm closer to them now that they passed away. And whether that happens in life or combination of this life and the afterlife, I'm just going to turn off the light in the other room there because the sun's come out. So save a little bit of energy. Although it almost seems like a new bulb. I certainly don't remember us using it. I got to make sure I don't trip on that cord. And the dog, yeah, he didn't fully eat his rawhide, but he's sleeping pretty soundly there, so can't complain. Um, there was something when I sat down. I kind of the sign. I showed it in the other video. I don't know if I need to show it in this one, although there was a very interesting addition to it last night, and I don't think it's terrible to mention channels as long as you're also focusing on the content that you're commenting on. But especially when you're just trying to get your channel um, you know active or whatever. I mean, and you feel like you put worthwhile stuff out there, you're going to want people to know. Again, as long as you're focusing on what you're commenting on. And I can't actually remember if I did comment on this. Actually has some symbolic as well. The whole thing does. I can't remember if I commented on this one post and mentioned the YouTube channel or not. But what I did say, and I mean, yesterday, and it was live stream, was a perfect example of how special it is to feel a loved one's presence that's passed on and get messages too, but how hard it is too, how emotional it can feel. But as my friend would say, feel the feels, sit in it for a little while, and essentially allow yourself to heal a little bit. But I did this poster. We did a shorter video last night with it, and somebody posted in a group about some young person in their life that had passed away, and there's no option to not have it monetized, but that's fine. You can go to me. I really appreciate it. Who had passed away, and they said, and I told them this briefly before he left this morning, and suddenly it sounds quite nice now that he's been at work for about an hour. Can you create an image with the text that says Peyton lives on, and or she said, or write it on paper. I had just kind of created this, and I understand it looks a little juvenile, which is somewhat ironic because juvenile diabetes. But I'm no artist. I did this, life is precious. I had a creative idea I wanted to do. I almost feel like it almost didn't happen last night. It did. It was a little rough, but it still did. And I wanted to have this to use in it. And so, it initially I was just going to, this looks even worse. I was just going to recreate what the words say essentially and not get that artsy. But then I started thinking about colored pencils, and ironic because we were looking at this the other day, and the holder actually utilizes the special paper, and I almost didn't see them up there because I didn't entirely know where they were. And I think that was actually the first one I saw, but there was other ones around it. Anyway, so I made this, and I felt Reverend Ray saying, sure, put Peyton Lives On that. So it's in the corner there. And then I also did this. This is a chocolate box that has been sitting on our steps, our inside steps of the house, on our stairs. I guess maybe the better word, for months. And we just been kind of letting it sit there. And yesterday, now this has been in two videos, and I've been trying to send this under the post as a photo, but so far, is any of this familiar to anybody? Might be, because it's a big group, I guess. So far, it's not went through. But I don't know when people are scrolling if they're just seeing the original thumbnail or if they're seeing the video move. I should know all the time I spend on YouTube, but I don't really. But I don't know. But what truly inspired this was something really quite special, where I felt like she was saying, "Want to do a photo shoot with me?" Like, in a way, I kind of have with some of her pictures online, and that I, to tribute to memorialize. Um, I tried to not have her name mentioned. She may or may not be recognized by people, but whatever. I'm just so glad she just had this nose piercing, and I almost don't even remember that. I don't know if she took it out sometimes, if it was newer. Um, but um, but yeah, so she was suggesting doing a photo shoot, and I guess there's some irony that it was a photo event that I was at the day before I found out. Um, that actually has happened once before, and it was quite a while before this event. I actually had an acquaintance that passed away of an overdose or an addiction, but it sounded like it was an accidental thing that had happened. Welcome, and I was trying to go and do some printing at a library. We actually have a great printer, but we can't figure out how to get it to work. But it's like a good brand, looks like a good quality. And in fact, this person that posted about this patent thing said that she wanted to print them all out and plaster them on a wall in her house, it sounded like. And I just thought, what a cool idea. But um, is that from you, Brian, or Ray, or who? Anywho, um, it's more like they just keep showing me photos, which I'd see anyway. It's true, but possibly. But and it was weird. They opened at a weird time, noon, I think, which on a weekday, and it was odd, and I don't know why that was the case. I don't know if the only person that was designated to open it had to start late, but no, I think their hours actually were posted saying that. And so I went and spent some time in a park it's in my neighborhood kind of, but it's a little further than I usually go, and I usually pass by the area fairly quick. But because I was kind of waiting for the place to open, and I must get back on that writing project. I must. We're saying, yeah, do it, buddy. We all support you doing it here. You know, the hardest part is it's a creative writing project, and I've been writing scenes. I had no beginning, middle, and end. I may have written an end scene. Actually, maybe I do, but now I'm gonna have to and I emailed myself most of it. It's always an AirJet, which I may or may not be able to easily access. In fact, I don't know if I can now, but it's yeah. And what I found myself doing, I have been recently thinking about this person. It was actually more of an acquaintance. I actually only met him once, talked with him online a little, and it was surreal. I'm still kind of surprised. The park was relatively quiet, and it wasn't a park that kids would go in either. Really, it was actually a park that I'm sure homeless people sometimes sleep in, and there was some graffiti, and it was mostly benches, and it wasn't huge either. But I found, And when I started doing this writing project, as much as I was being quite creative, I did feel that the spirit of this acquaintance friend JP was present, helping me do it. So when I had to wait for this place to open, and I was at this park, not only was there a piece of clothing on the floor, that on the ground, which I took home and washed, and I've not worn since, but I liked the color. I thought I might wear it, um, but um, I found myself, well, I almost can remember something about a couple of interesting trees, and the space in the center, and it's actually kind of interesting because I think there was a similar scene in Maxime, which I've seen many months later. It's a movie, but and I felt like he was there posing for a photo, and there was a couple others that I can't remember, that photos, and I feel like Ray is suggesting that, and I either don't want to take up space in my device, worried that I'm not going to see, well, I'm certainly not going to see her. I don't know whether I would feel like I'd see orbs. It might be an interesting thing to do, and I thought I could maybe do it in the video, but I don't know. However, and like I say, I kind of did with actual photos, and that felt kind of similar to this. But what I sensed also this morning is that she kind of um, says that she wishes that we could have done this in the physical. She would have been happy to have helped me out. The song I heard on the radio right before he started rolling was not symbolic. It's an interesting song, but it was the very opposite of the type of connection that I had with her. And as we get a second viewer, and one of you has been here for about 5 or 10 minutes, don't be shy. So glad you're here. But she wishes she could, and I think, and not under one. I think what the takeaway from that is I know that we can all be there for our friends and for each other and this and that, but sometimes to try harder. Sometimes we're here, check in on each other. Check. If you whether you either just do it, or if you sense that something may not be quite right for someone that you care about, to check in. Um, and it may be actually something, I don't want people to feel regret or guilt. What happens in this life, as far as when people pass away, is meant to be, even if it's hard and doesn't feel right. Such as this friend dying in her early 30s. My dad dying at 49. Many others, you know, personally and otherwise, But I actually sense a little bit of regret from my friend Ray, that she says that's something I wish I would have done in life. She says, if I can have a little bit of an ego trip for a moment, she's talking to my telepathy. She says, that last time when we saw you, well, I wasn't sure if she knew that we'd kind of had a falling out, because it kind of happened quietly, sort of. And maybe she didn't notice, even though she was online quite a bit. And she's like, I know we hadn't talked for a while, and I could have been mad at you for that. And I don't, I didn't necessarily at the time understand, or if I'd known, I may not have understood at first. But your choice is your choice, bud. I'm not holding it against you. We are connected now, and we can all, in one way or another, still feel connected to our loved ones that have passed away. I'm saying that back to her though, and you know, you had to do what you felt you had to do at the time, but I was still excited to see you that last time, even though I didn't know it was going to be the last time. And I'll never forget it. And this year at the festival, even if it's busy around me, maybe it will be, maybe it won't, maybe I'll have to try more than once. Who knows? Maybe I won't. Maybe I will just do it more than once, even if the first time's fine. But I plan to there's picnic tables near there, and I plan to spend a few moments um, I could do it not during the festival. It's actually safer, and I'd rather do it in that vibe, in that atmosphere. Sit at a picnic table and just feel the feels, you know. As we get second one, you're welcome, and the other one's been here about 10 minutes. Very happy about that. Don't be shy though. Who do we got watching? Where are you watching from? But I'm so glad you're here. Um, you know, and I think that's something else that we should all do. And part of me feels I don't have to tell people that. They probably think to do so. I'm just going to put the pillow under this again because I feel like it's a bit more stable. Maybe it's not, but and it's higher. But if I was to explain the last time I saw this person, um, basically, like I say, it was at a festival, and I hear my name hollered out, and it's kind of a this is a shared channel. Um, and we were joking this morning actually. Well, switch names because neither of us really likes our names. But I said my name is somewhat unique, and she says, "Yeah, I'm one of them, even more so." that that's like a, I guess you could say, an inside joke. But back to the great outdoors at this summer festival. I heard her holler my name. She's like, "Hey, how you doing?" And I said, "I'm good. I haven't seen you in a while." She says, "Yeah, I've been having some health problems. I've been kind of in and out of the hospital a bit." And I said, "But I think I'm okay now." And says, "So you doing something in the festival, or are you?" She's like, "No, I'm heading to work soon," I think is what she said. So it was very brief. We didn't really hang out very much. But even though there had been a gap in our connection, the fact that she still saw me as a friend she wanted to holler out to and chat with for a little bit, you know, I could easily feel regret and say, if only we knew that would have been the last time, maybe we would have done a little bit more within it. But we can't let ourselves feel that. We just, it will eat us up inside. Oh, the other cushion I'm sitting on, the one of the ones couldn't find. It'll eat us up. And, even though it's okay to feel emotions, no matter who you are, no matter what gender you are, you're human. Um, and I literally mean no matter what gender. And it's so ironic because in about 15 minutes, there's a group I used to go to that's going to be starting where there was a very old fashioned man who, was one of those ones that felt like, we're supposed to keep our feelings inside and, this and that. And it's the kind of energy, as hard as it is to see people feeling things sometimes, it's, again, it's very human. And the kind of energy of somebody who is that old fashioned, I mean, no offense if either of our viewers are also kind of that way, but they've been here. You've both been here for a while now, and I'm feeling the feels. So, but this is me. I understand that. But I just, I was quite scared last night that the other viewer of this channel may pass away. Reasons why? Life experiences. That's what I said. It's nothing that he'd done, but life experiences, things that were on my mind at the time, including this person. And then during a nap, noticing some odd movements and heavy breathing. And I didn't know, and there was that project that we posted a short video. I don't know what the still is, but it was called Tributing a Friend. This one I'm talking about, actually. And, I, I, I think I got a little bit of sleep in that hour and a bit. I actually think I lucid dreamed a bit. Um, and I don't remember details about it at the moment. But, and even this morning, all I remember this morning, and I have been using backpacks a little bit more than usual, is I had a dream where there was a yellow backpack, and actually a yellow bag is kind of significant to me right now. Maybe not as much as it was, but I acquired one recently, and I've been utilizing it. And in fact, I've had it inside the other backpack because it's so bright. It says something kind of odd on it, but whatever. And and it had 3 arm straps. I was adjusting the arm straps of the other one because I was able to do so quite a bit, and they didn't seem like it seemed. Yeah. Anywho, maybe it's like, yeah, okay. But and the person that I'm really curious again, to know your thoughts on this, where you're watching from, and I'm slightly curious because one of the viewers left. If the one that's still there is the one that's been there, I don't know if you'll know this, but the longest. It doesn't really matter. I'm glad you're here. Um, and it's actually and I also that's something else I'm happy to do is analyze dreams, not nightmares. And there's a difference between like scary dreams and confusing. I'm happy to analyze a dream that you've had recently or one that you had a long time ago and I've always wondered about. Feel free to mention in the comment. But um, that one that I had, and that's really all I remember. I almost think I remember there being someone I was kind of familiar with in it, but it was, sometimes the details are fuzzy, right? Um, and what I'm not quite sure about is, and even if you've kind of analyzed the dream, maybe another interpretation will mean something to you. What I'm not sure about is why this backpack had 3 arms. Yeah, 3 arms. I was thinking, is that how you would say it? Yeah. To the person that's watching, you're the only one here right now. Do you know what that can mean? I know I could say I analyze dreams, but at the moment, my head's not quite figuring it out. I realized the symbology between about the bag, like I say, really is just that I used it recently. It was connected to a place which I can still have some involvement with, but not as much as I thought I could. Um, and I found that out yesterday. So the day of the night that I had this dream, or what for me, what often happens is when I wake up for the day, I'm waking up for my dream when it happens. So, yeah. I don't want to. If you are trying to write a comment, it's not. YouTube doesn't seem to indicate that somebody's writing, and you left, so whatever. But I don't know if it was intentional or personal or what. But and the thing is we don't always have to find meanings to our dreams. But I'm curious what it could mean. So until we get somebody back here, maybe I'm going to take a bit of a talking break, or somebody tunes in. I'm going to take a bit of a talking break, and well, actually, this might be one example where I'm going to go to YouTube for a moment. Interesting. It says if you dream of a backpack, something must be weighing you down, and I do wonder if that's why some of my physical symptoms have flared up again, because it's kind of true. AI Google says it could be your concerning your personal sense of self, control, and responsibilities. Multiple burdens. The 3 arms might represent the feeling of being overwhelmed with multiple tasks, projects, or obligations in your waking life. You might be carrying a heavy load, both literally and figuratively, as represented by the backpack. That makes sense to me. That makes sense. So much for taking a rest. I'm still going to do it because nobody's here right now, and anybody that sees this afterward has gotten 34 minutes of content, so you're welcome. No, I mean, and I haven't had to get up for anything once, so sorry. I'm using the cushion that's usually covering some of that stuff underneath the laptop right now, and I guess the stuff I was mostly. So I just analyzed when I'm if it's the person that was here before, I figured out an answer, but I'm still open to interpretation. The dream I had. So this is a little bit about analyzing dreams, not nightmares, but dreams. So when you figure it out or haven't figured out and you're still wondering about, feel free to put it in the comments. Um, and know that if your comments ever don't show when you go to look back or whatever, although when I'm live, I'll try and address them live. That's a YouTube glitch because I've noticed it a couple times. Like I'm not deleting anything. Um, so I want to let you be able to focus on doing that if you wish to, putting your comment, but in the viewer left or whatever. But the I'm talking to someone today, hopefully, that um, I met what very kind of somewhat randomly when working on a creative project. She wasn't really involved in it. I don't even know if she ever saw the end product, but I can find it via Benoit. I can tell you that much. Or I know that much. And one of the lines, and it actually has popped up. It's probably popped up in my life in general, but since doing the show, every few months I probably hear myself kind of feeling this and articulating it sometimes. How life can be a double-edged sword. And what one of the meanings that the main meaning that I am making with that is being close to people that we know we're going to lose someday and may or may not ever really get back until the day that we die. Some things are more possible, it's more likely, and as I show in this channel, even death is not a complete separation, but some things again are more some connections that we have will be harder to and I've even been through a couple of instances where there was a reconnect but didn't last. However, um, one thing I've sometimes noticed is if I can't remember the reason, it may have still been valid, and I may still feel justified enough to not do anything different, to keep things where they're at, which in a way is kind of avoidance. In a way is where you can take accountability with your own self and not make it necessarily known, I suppose. And some of these are my pet peeves, but I guess I sometimes do them. And I think the other person should know. They should be able to figure it out. And actually, sometimes when I went through those kind of things, sometimes it's like I won't give them an opportunity to respond because I'm so annoyed. Like I mean, we all go through it, right? But I will let them know before I block them or whatever that this is why. You know, um, but I'm talking with someone later today who I briefly lost touch with, much like also this person who passed away. And there can always be reconciliation. I know that's a big word in a lot of places connected to something else right now. Well, it's a big word kind of anyway, but but it can be a double-edged sword. Getting close to someone who you'll lose someday. In the performance piece that I wrote, the part that follows that is it can be a risk worth taking. Nobody's here right now, so I'm going to have a semi-private, as private as doing a YouTube video can be. Nobody's here at the moment, like I say. Moment with my friend Ray again, and my telepathy, and I felt this the first part of this a few minutes ago. She says, "Yeah, it would have been really fun to have done a photo shoot, eh? I'll see what I can do to try and line some stuff up for you with some people, some peeps." But she says, "I know it would have been something that you, and for that matter, both of us would have really cherished for a long, long time, or forever." She liked I liked fashion. A lot of people told me that I could be a model. She says when I was younger, I mean, I did. I kind of did in photos with friends, but she says I, uh, I had done a couple of photos, actual photo shoots with some people, and she says I know you'd be good at it, my friend. She says I know that that is something that you would love to do and that you would do very well at. And some people they are using their phones these days, actual photographers. She says I'm sorry that the opportunities have not been coming, which isn't your fault. I know, but it makes me sad, buddy. She says, I know you're trying to do a bunch of things and it's going kind of slow for you and you've you know, nothing you've done wrong, nothing about you as a person, but you have had some iffy luck and I'm so sorry. But she says, even if it may be hard or a little bit triggering, because it was really at that event and then things faded away, not not many connections were really made. There was a couple little conversations, but nobody that I stayed in touch with, except for the one that put it on. And I don't know if we've actually maybe put her off because we asked for some of the money back because we had a financial stress. Um, but aside from that, I mean, and if that was her and her partner that I almost approached because I thought it may have been her, maybe I should have, although, that's not good. But maybe I should have because they were a beautiful couple, interrace couple. Um, I do remember the two I'm thinking about did appear to be a couple. I just don't know if she was defined. That sounds funny, but she says, you know what? She says, my friend, life is already hard, and we can sometimes hold on to hard memories, whether it's the last time we see somebody, something that was hard, something that we um, really enjoyed but don't get to do very often. And she says, and we sometimes, and sometimes you totally want to avoid this. How she would say it, actually. Well, yeah, I know. I'm not doubting this, but she says sometimes we, any of us may really want to avoid those memories. But I'd like to suggest to you, my friend, that you also hold on to how you enjoyed them, the positives that you got from them. She says, I hadn't been passed away for very long, but I did know and actually helped you find out that weekend because, and I heard this a little earlier too and almost forgot. She says, just like my dad said in the previous video about his accident, I deserved to find out. Like me, I deserved to find out that she passed away. And she says, I made it so that things didn't get more awkward or more tense because they really didn't need to be, so that you could be at the funeral, even though it was my funeral. She says, I knew that it was important for you to be there, and I wanted you there. And I was actually thinking about something. I've thought about some of the details of it, but this morning I think I was thinking about how she had her urn and a photo display brought up to the food section, and we just happened to be in the close to that area. It was kind of one of the first tables when we got up there, and we just decided to take it. We didn't fully know the layout of things up there. I don't know. We just did. And there were a lot of people, actually, surprising amount of people that I didn't know there. But it was interesting that there was some familiarity with the people that I happened to sit around. One of them, I know she was grieving. She was also kind of shy, and to be quite honest, I wasn't that close with her. The other guy, he was a little excited to see me, but he's dealing with a lot of health problems. I might have turned the AC off for a moment, but then I'm thinking I'm probably going to get warm pretty quick. Um, and someone I'd taken a class with who was used to be, and kind of like her husband and her daughter still had the home, a neighbor to my grandparents years ago was there, and I couldn't find her. Maybe it was best because of how some guys can be that I talked a little bit with him, a little bit leaning up to it. But um, and like I said, I had some familiarity with her, and they happened, but they were like really quick up there, ate and left pretty quickly. Maybe they had something else to do. Some people, they have very active lives in various ways. But and I got a little bit of an iffy vibe from her, but and it had been a long time since I'd seen her, and I'm not even. I think she kind of did like a double take, like I think that's him, but I'm not sure, and I'm not. We just actually been through the funeral part, you know, and it all worked out. It all worked out, but her stepson and her former partner, her late partner, were at the table right behind us. There was a guy that came and looked at the photos in the urn, and I should have been able to, but I wasn't entirely sure if it was him. And he had a kind of a glazed, expression on his face, not judging it. And he stood there for a few moments, but for sure, and and I feel a bit bad to my friend, like that she maybe would have wanted this. Although she's not holding it against me. She's not judging me. She said like me. She's not judging me. Um, you know, she knows that with the one relative it was awkward. With two of them it would have been awkward. The partner possibly would have been the least awkward, but I didn't know him. You know, um, I felt bad that he had lost her, and he was sure blessed to have her. But as all of us were in the ways that we did. But if I had hugged him, it may have been very brief and kind of weak. Not saying he is. I'm just saying that, this was the funeral for his partner of 2 years at the time, or around that. And even though he seemed to hold it together quite well, you know, and I do sense that he was a man that was maybe somewhat in touch with his feelings, but he, it was the funeral. And I know what she's told me about this other relative, and even possibly both of them. I know, I know what she's told me, and we both want to feel that. Do they? And would they believe if I said that she feels that they do? Not only does she feel that they should, which depending on, and I think that they're fairly modern in their beliefs and possibly believe in the afterlife. Um, Not only is it that she feels they should, but she feels they do. That I don't know if they both knew, but the sister, for instance, uh, is pretty much past the little situation that there was, and doesn't hate me. And it's interesting actually because that was the wording I asked when it happened. I hope you don't hate me. Um, you know, but now and because it is well, actually, I can still do Big Glen. I guess it could. Um, yeah, I wouldn't have recognized her honestly. It had been a few years since I seen her, and there was something different about her than. But anywho, um, maybe it was just the makeup. I don't know. Um, but it's always been that thing of does she feel it too? But I think the fact that we're saying that not only that she should still be okay with me, but that she likely is. And this is a perfect example of spirit. I wish somebody was watching this, like a skeptic or whatever, because I know that I feel mixed as to whether she is angry with me and would want to connect with me or not. And I've thought about it a few times. Um, And I've always kind of thought, yeah, maybe she is. But, and she says, doesn't hurt to try. But I guess they would recognize this name as true. But I'm always trying to be respectful and vague. But, she's seemingly pretty adamantly saying that the sister doesn't hate me. And she's saying something I'm not sure she's ever said before to me, but I almost think she has. You think I'd remember? I know I'm saying, you remember, but she's saying, you want a bit more connection right now, don't you, bud? That's what I sometimes sense from you. Like, going to that group, it wasn't necessarily about the condition, although you didn't know entirely. And I kind of feel mixed. She says it like part of me thinks this is really nice, just a special that he's trying to get involved in these things because of my passing, and trying to remember me, and like I say, some of the material had some of it was like animated, but had young people on it. But it's true, I mostly saw older people there. I mean, they had my birth year, but some of them may not have looked at it. But it's kind of like, she says they're not stupid. I'm sure most of them aren't. They know that this condition can take some people young. But she says, if you want connections, and I don't feel like I have them. She says, they're my family. I love them. They're great people. You've met my sister a few times. You know that she's a decent person. I want you to be happy. I want you to feel connected, supported, loved, appreciated. And neither of us knows entirely how someone's going to be about it. But she says, it might hurt if it doesn't go as we hope, but at the same time, maybe it's worth trying. But it's really hard because the channel name is Sing. Um, and Ray, do you know anything about why the partner would have said, "Why has this page been memorialized?" I mean, I guess any relative could have done it, but I mean, she passed away. Why wouldn't it be? Or like was it that he hoped that it wouldn't still be there, or he was just it was something more for him to process about your passing, or maybe a bit of both? She says. Does it matter though? I guess not. I just thought it was a little bit odd. A little bit odd, but I've seen him like post on the page since. One thing, what do you think about this, Ray? One thing that I worry might be hard if they haven't seen any of these videos is the fact that I feel you maybe more than they do. Maybe you can help them. You know, and I would suggest that you don't ask for a certain something. They know that sometimes that goes along with this, and if they feel it, they may. But maybe this could be a positive thing for them. She says, he believes that I'm probably in heaven. He certainly hopes I am. He talks to me a lot. He doesn't necessarily, and this is interesting, this is interesting because I don't know if I would say that I talk to my angels. I mean, they talk to me. And the other day I did feel a bit of a back and forth, I think, with her. And it does happen occasionally. But it's more they talk to me than I talk to them most of the time. But she says, no, he talks to me a lot and wonders if I can hear him. And I'm almost always there, hearing him, loving him, and missing him. And Joey, my sweet, sweet man. So much of it has transpired on YouTube, and that's the part. But again, I'm trying to be, although that got a bit specific, but I'm trying to be as vague as I can, about who it is, who these people are, where they're from, who they are, where they're from, what they do, as long as they love me. Just kidding. But I have been a playlist was showing some of their songs the other day, and actually, it was almost done in a tribute. She says one thing I will say ahead of time, Core, um, is that can't do it any other way. Is that I think you everybody needed some time. She said everybody needed some time, but is that they are busy sometimes. She says now relax and see what comes from that. She says he's a great man. I loved him a lot. I'm sure you could be good buds, but know that go into it without expectations in some ways because life. I mean, their kid is, and we get a viewer. Their kid is a bit older, still under 18 though. And I don't believe there's other ones. I do think he probably works. Um, she says, "I'll know that one specific detail that maybe I shouldn't share, but um, anything else." She actually says should be fair game. He's like her. She says he is a bit shy sometimes, and especially till he gets to know you. I mean, some people are, some people aren't. But he says, so please don't take his potential quietness as not caring or not interested. But I think you'd get along quite well, to be quite honest. She says. Um, so kudos, buddy. It's so nice that you reached out. I feel like also you could help bridge the gap. I feel like you could help. I feel like, but I think, buddy, you've been through a lot. You've been through a lot, and some things have not been easy in your life. You've also had lots of good things, I'm sure, and I know. But you deserve attention and love and friendship. And he's a good seed, she said. Still don't ask Mama Joe's number, though, I would say. She says, be honest, you're going to have to be at some point. Um, Now leave it and wait, she says. I did slow down a little bit, but I feel this sense of calm. Like that's kind of something I'd thought about doing for a long time and just did. And I see her smiling. Yay! She says, put the both of you. She says, well, I think I'm going to go now, but try and have a good day, my friend. Okay? Talk to you later, buddy. And that was an instance of a flash visual, like she just got not much more to it than God. I was supposed to be thinking of Roger, but I'm tired. I'm tired. And I don't really sense him, actually. Sometimes all I have to do, it seems like, but I don't do it. Sometimes very often just think of them. But, and they're there. But no, I don't think he is at the moment. So I think we'll wrap this up. But to do so, just a reminder to take chances sometimes. And, you go through the feelings of loss of a loved one or in connections as you will. It's kind of unavoidable as a human, so we shouldn't actually try to come to think of it. And um, I don't know if I play it out here and record the audio clip, it won't work very well. I could type it. I could try and do it with the other phone if we can ever get back connected. But anyway, yeah, basically, um, so to take risks sometimes. And then also, like I say, be there. Support your friends through what they're going through and through their goals, what they want to accomplish, and just try and do your best to help them, like she would have with examples such as the photo shoot or with a lot of things. But she says, I know that you connect that kind of hobby or interest that you have because one, you think I would be great for it, and I don't disagree, and two, because of the event that you were at the weekend that you found out. She says, again, I'll see what I can do to help. No promises. Oh, but actually, I was going to say what she's back, but no. Actually, what I think I'm doing is kind of reiterating what she already said. Or sometimes they do go and come back, but no, I'm pretty sure that's what's happening. But she says, but yeah, that she, and I don't know if I was reading her mind or she was reading mine when we kind of thought, oh, that would have been nice to do. But yeah, so I just kind of recapped and summarized this. That being said, I personally think, and maybe you agree, that there was some pretty powerful moments within this. And the viewer left. I kind of started talking that way because somebody briefly tuned in. I'm going to go now for this one. And for anybody that's made it this far, maybe I'll even put it in the comments and hopefully it'll stick.